Hello and welcome back to another video of Forgotten Orb 2. This time not a stream because we had lots of technical troubles with the stream, sorry about that again. But we can finally show you the actual highlight of the stream, the completely new map, which was made by Flippy Warbear, who is standing here with me.
Hello.
Hello. So before we go into detail about the map, one thing. As I said many times before, my internet provider is complete shit, and because of that I might get connection trouble from time to time, but shouldn't be too bad. So, Flippy, what is this map?
So, this is Battle of Tali, which is the prequel to Ihantala. So if you played Ihantala, you pretty much already know what's gonna be going on. Loads of Soviet firepower against the Finnish defenders. And for anyone interested, this is actually my personal favorite battle of the entire World War II.
Cool stuff. First of all, do we want to take an overview? I'm putting up the minimap right now. Can you tell us something about the layout of the map before we look at tanks and so on?
Sure. So in the early morning of 25th of June 1944, the Soviets launched a massive artillery barrage in the Finnish lines at Tali, at the village of Tali. And in the very early morning, they launched their attack after the artillery barrage, and they used this main road that you can see going along the western side of the Lake Leitimo towards the crucial crossroads called Portinhoikka, right in pretty much in the closest to the Finnish main bases in the map. And this crucial crossroad basically opened up highways that will lead to the city of Viipuri, which was just lost to the Soviets a couple of days before this battle started in, I think it was on 20th of June. And the Soviet attack was like a two pincer movement. One of the pincers starting their assault on the western side of the lake, and the other one to the eastern and northern side towards Ihantala. And if you look at the map by D2, where you've got the second Finnish main, that road actually leads to Ihantala in real life. So these places are actually really close to one another. And that's why the battle is actually called tali-ihantala, because it's basically went from Tali to Ihantala.
Yeah, and we made two maps out of it, basically.
Basically,
well,
yeah.
more than two, technically, with the layers.
And just like with Ihantala, where Ihantala, if you've played all three layers, each one will tell a different part of the battle. Starting, like, if you want to play chronologically, you'd play the Ihantala 32-player version, then 16, and then the 64-player version. With Tali, it's 64-player version, 32-player version, and then 16-player version. They all tell their own like part of the battle.
Yep.
And have different gameplay mode.
They all tell their own story. As you can see, the map itself, it's not like Ihantala, it's not a push map, but this time it's a conquest map with 5 flags.
Yes, correct.
Yep.
And 32-player version, I'm especially excited to have on the server, because it's probably my second favorite like part of Battle of Tali, because it happens at night. So it's one of those very blue nights that we have in the midsummer in the north. If you follow us on Discord, you've probably already seen some of the pictures that I posted, some sneak peeks.
Correct. We won't show the smaller layers now. These will remain I almost said a mistake. These will remain a surprise for now. We will look at this big layer, which of course has most of the new stuff. Is there anything very new or interesting in the Russian main base, or should we start moving across the map to spawn the Finns?
Well, no, actually, Russians are not having anything new when it comes to their equipment. Everything that we see in the main base is basically already available in Ihantala. And if you play Ihantala, you already know that I love to give a lot of firepower to the Soviets, so we've got a whole lot of tanks. And why there's a whole lot of tanks here, it's also because the Battle of Tali it's a tank battle. It was the largest tank battle in the Finnish front.
So there was like basically 2 tank divisions worth of tanks,
yes.
right? So yeah, that's quite big. As you can see, you will also have access to air power, so we have the IL-2s and the LA-7s, right?
Yeah, exactly, and also artillery. And just like with Ihantala, there's also the very dreaded, like the very controversial commander artillery again available. So there's going to be a lot of fucking, excuse my language, there's going to be a lot of explosions going on.
Yeah, as you are used to from Eastern Front maps. So, what do we do? Do we capture the flags now and show the map off that way? Because you have to capture certain flags to spawn Finnish vehicles, right?
That's correct. We should jump in this truck, and I'll be driving us to the most crucial flag that will actually start triggering all those Finnish tanks.
Okay.
So as we are driving, we'll be driving along the main highway that was basically the only attack route for the Russians towards the crossroad of Portinhoikka. Just night before it had rained and all the fields and so on, they're very soft, so tanks had very difficult time maneuvering through the open fields. And also what makes the area of Tali very special is that there's a lot of like very natural bottlenecks. We've got very good forests, we have tight corridors, we have a lot of cliffs, swamps and so on. So Soviets had to rely on the roads quite a lot, and that's what the Finns used in their advantage.
Yep, similar a bit to Silo Heights almost.
Yeah, pretty much.
Not quite as flat.
Yeah. As you can see, there's plenty of wrecks again. I like making the battlefield look like there's been like a very large battle. I like creating destruction. This time around, I haven't gone to the extreme with all the craters and all the destruction, just like on Ihantala, because I think the map is quite heavy as it is, but hopefully it will run fine, and hopefully it'll be fun as well. So we're arriving to the key location of the battle, Portinhoikka.
Yep. And this is what it's all about.
Yeah, this is basically the most important flag in the entire map.
Can you explain to us why?
Basically because it opens up routes towards Finland itself, towards Juustila Channel, which is to the west, and then up north to Ihantala, which in turn opens up routes towards Imatra and so on. So it's basically all about like road access deep into Finland. And also the southern junction and the eastern junction that we just drove on, they connect to the city of Viipuri, which by now is basically like one of the hubs for the Soviets to bring in reinforcements by train.
Okay, pretty cool. But I also mean in terms of gameplay, why is it important? What happens here?
What happens here is that once the Russians capture the flag, they're going to need one more flag in order to turn the bleed against the Finns. Right now we only got the Portinhoikka, but now that the Portinhoikka is captured by the Russians, we can switch off to the Finns and spawn in A3.
Correct, and because it triggers, so to speak, the Finnish counterattack.
Exactly, yes.
By the Lagos Armored Division?
Yeah.
Correct.
So,
little overview here while I wait to respawn.
So in reality, when the Soviets, they spearheaded into the Portinhoikka and captured it quite shiftily, Then Lagus threw in General Lagus, the commander of the armored division. He threw in his heavy tank brigade, which consisted of one T-34-76, one KV-1, one T-50, and two T-28Es. Unfortunately, we do not have the T-28s. Hopefully, we'll get them sometime later in the future. So now that Portinhoikka is in Soviet hands, these things will spawn at the main base, and they will keep spawning here until the flag is in Finnish hands again.
Correct.
And
so you get
these are all new vehicles made for the Finns. There right now, Soviets do not actually have their versions of these tanks at all. These are all brand new, made for the Finns.
Correct. Especially the T-50 tank was actually pretty rare and only used by the Soviets in the beginning of the war in the northern front, which is where the well, and in the southern front sometimes too. But this is where the Finns captured this one. I think I will go in, show off the. I think the engine sound is T-34, right? But
no, it's brand new. It's brand new.
Oh, okay, cool.
So it's the double coaxial DTs.
Yep, so not one, but two. So this is a nice light tank, although I imagine it's actually fairly well armored due to the sloped front. 45mm gun. The other new one
This tank actually, in reality, this tank acted as the commander tank for Major Mikkola, who was leading the counterattack towards Portinhoikka.
Oh, okay. So if you want to roleplay as that guy, now you can do it. It's like Michael Wittmann on the Villers Bocage map and Operation Total Life. So the other new tank, of course, which I somewhat accidentally leaked on my Operation Mars video earlier, is the KV-1 M1941, the early version of the KV-1. So far what we have in the mod are the KV-1S, which is I think on Arad, right? And basically nothing else?
It's on Arad only. And to correct you slightly, it's actually the model 1942.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, right, the first model had a different gun as well. So yeah, this is the 1942 model, pretty well armored, but I think it's slower, right, than the 1S?
It is, yes. It is slower, but it is actually up-armored by the Finns with the extra plating in the front.
Yeah, which you can see here, that's bolted or welded to the front here, because apparently it wasn't armored enough. So let's check that one out. Also new sound, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, that sounds really heavy.
Sounds great.
And of course has the normal 76mm gun that you know from the other 76mm armed Soviet tanks.
And that thing can actually withstand T-34 85 shots to the front. Not entirely, it will still damage it, but it will not one-shot the thing. The KV-1 and the T-50 are actually, you can still go and see them in the Finnish Tank Museum at Parola.
Yeah, cool stuff. So obviously these captured vehicles were not the only part of that tank division, because they didn't capture enough to equip a whole division, right? So there's more vehicles on here as well for the Finns, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Before we go to the rest of the vehicles, I'd like to talk a little about the T-34-76, which also, it's the different model to what we have on, for example, on Samatus and on Lenino. It is the earlier model of the 1941 version of the T-34. And this tank was gunned by the late Reino Lehmäslaiho, who actually died this year. And he managed to score 7 kills during the counterattack with this tank.
Okay, cool. So yeah, old style T-34, nifty. And the KV-1 committed suicide.
This tank, just like the T-50 and the KV-1, they were modeled after the real things. Like they are pretty much like all the numberings and everything is basically the same ones as the real vehicles from the battle.
Yep, that's the kind of attention to detail that Forgotten Oak 2 is known for.
Exactly. So if we go and respawn in the northern Finnish main base, we've got something else.
Mm-hmm.
And in the northern base, we've got some lighter tanks to be used. And these tanks are actually available throughout the entire round. They keep spawning simply because these tanks, well, they are very small. They're very, well, compared to all the Soviet stuff, they're very lightly armored, and these were quite numerous in the Finnish hands because, well, it was the most numerous tank that we had. And it is, of course, the T-26 light tank.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, also captured.
Also captured, indeed.
I'm gonna go in there. Yeah, these were very, very numerous. This was basically the standard tank in the Soviet army that was issued together with the BT tank to most of the Soviet units in the beginning of the war.
Yes.
Also has the 45mm gun. And yeah, so that's also new, the T-26.
Made by Sorkin, just like the T-50.
Yeah, these are actually really old models. They were in the beta for years before we had a map to put them on.
And if you join me at the airfield, we've got something for the Finns, for those who like to fly.
Oh yeah. Not me, but still.
But some of the people. And it is the Finnish Messerschmitt BF-109.
Mm-hmm.
The G2 model.
Wow. Nice.
Yep. And the Stuka is German, right? Yeah. Okay.
Stuka is the same detachment as on Ihantala, that is called the Kulmai.
Mm-hmm. Correct. So, as we said earlier, it's a twin map, so to speak. These maps are interlinked.
Yeah. We decided to take the Messerschmitts instead of the Kulmai Wolves that we have on Ihantala, because, well, someone, Matt Baker, to be precise, made the skin for the Messerschmitts, and just to have some actual air force for the Finns as well. I think it's nice that for now both sides only have one bomber plane. So for the Finns it is the Stuka, the German Stuka, not a Finnish Stuka, and then the Soviets get the IL-2.
Yeah. Correct. Well, on Ihantala, of course, the Finns were supported by German Stuks, so it's a bit different on this map.
Yeah, exactly. And we can actually go to... You can see that there's a spawn point almost in the middle of B3.
Yep.
And we can join that. So, Battle of Tali is basically the third time that the Finnish assault gun brigade gets into action. It is the heaviest battle besides Kuuterselkä, where the Finnish assault guns, Sturmgeschütz, gets into fighting against Soviet tanks.
Correct. So, we have the Finnish version of the assault gun, which of course is already in our launcher.
Yeah, this one has already been shown in a news post as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been in a couple of the sneak peek images that I've shown to the people on Discord.
Yep, has the DT instead of the MG34. And also additional boxes in the back.
And then to cap this all off, we are actually going to go and recapture Fortinhoikka. so we get a couple of more toys for the Finns, the
Correct.
last final pieces to the puzzle.
Yeah, correct. Basically, the whole map is in a way about this crossroad, and if it changes hands, new vehicles spawn for the Finns. And of
Yes,
course,
exactly.
it's more valuable for the Russians. So if they want to stop the bleed, they are heavily incentivized to actually capture this as well.
Yeah, basically for the Russians to turn the bleed against the Finns, they need Portinhoikka and 1 flag, or they capture 4 flags.
Yeah, so they could capture all the ones on the other side of the river,
Yes.
and make them bleed, or one of them and Portinhoikka. So it's really important to focus on this flag. And here we go.
And now, if we spawn at the very corner of A2, there's 2 more toys to be seen.
Yep. Okay, Fatjoe parked his plane here.
Yeah.
As we should.
Yeah, it was good landing, 3-point landing.
Yeah, and here we have more of the best Finnish vehicle, so to speak.
Yeah, so during the counterattack to Portinhoikka, Finns captured 2 of the ISU 152s. One of them was pressed into action just a couple of days later, but we decided that we're going to include it in this 64-player version because it kind of goes through multiple days, not just the 25th of June. And then it was lost in the 29th of June. And the battle about the 29th is actually the 16-player version. So that'll be crazy. We're going to have a ISU on a 16-player version. I'm very excited to see how that's going to play out.
Yep. That's the old sound still, right?
No, they are updated as well.
Okay, cool. And then, of course, the
And
234
another historical
85.
detail
Okay.
about the historical detail about the ISU 152 is that the second one that was captured was sent back to Finland for repairs and maintenance, and it now stands at the Parola Tank Museum. Its number is 1212.
Okay.
Oh.
Then, of course, the T-34-85 model.
Yep. Which you can see that it's not exactly only reskin. We have some small modifications. For example, the extra fuel barrels at the back have been removed, and also the mudguards at the front, they've been cut off.
Because that's what the real one looked like.
Yeah. Basically, this tank was the tank that we already see from Ihantala. The number 762 was the tank that was captured intact in the middle of the crossroad at Portinhoikka and was put into use after it was valued that it's actually intact, and it was repainted with Finnish camo and swastikas and then put into action, and it took part in the battle that takes place in the 32-player version.
Ah, okay. So, as you can see, lots of new vehicles, lots of Finnish vehicles. Basically, this is the first time we have a true Finnish tank map. Of course, they had the German Stuks on Ihantala, but on this map they have tons and tons of different tanks or other vehicles, so including some very unique ones. So I think this will be a very exciting map for tankers who want to try out something new.
And the thing about this is that this is basically the only battle that we can do some tanks like the ISU 152, the T50, KD1. This is the only battle that these tanks were available at. They were not used in any other battle, so this is very unique. Yes, exactly. That's what I mean. Like by the Finns. So this is very, very unique. I think this is like really unique when it comes to like video games in general, that we are having this kind of a map, because I don't think there are many maps many games that do this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Would you go as far to say that this is one of the best representation of tali-ihantala?
Yeah.
Probably, I dare to say.
I mean,
just just like Ihantala, this map is chock full of historical details that I'd love to go through, because there's just hundreds and hundreds of little details that I put into that are like you can find in photographs, you can find in texts, and so on. And this is basically, if you're into Tali and Ihantala, you should play Forgotten Hope too, because we do it the best. We do it the best.
I would say that too. I think from the top of my head, I only know 2 like video games that actually have Finnish troops. One was the first combat mission. That one had that, and like the old DOS game that I sometimes make maps for, Steel Panthers of World War II, that also has very good representation of Finnish troops, but not of this battle, to be honest. I don't think there's a scenario for that. So yeah, I think we're pretty much unique in that.
Yeah.
Not to mention that
like,
these games don't have our graphical fidelity, you know, such as it is.
Yeah. And just like Ihantala, this is basically made. It is not 1-to-1 scale, because the area is much larger.
Yeah, that's always the case on the Eastern Front.
Yeah, but basically everything is where they should be. It's just scaled down a little. And all the important places, like you always want to include as many important places from the battlefield that in the map as possible, but then you have to do compromises at times.
Yeah.
So I selected the 5 most important areas from the Battle of Tali for the 64 player version.
Yeah. So, anyway, is there anything else you want to show, or should we end the video here? I think we got the coolest stuff out of the way. Maybe because you said you have used photographs and so on as your guide, show us your favorite detail that you put into the map.
Well, there's actually no photograph of my favorite detail, but one thing that I can show is actually at Portinhoikka. That is pretty darn cool, that I have a photograph for.
Okay, then let's die and spawn near Portinhoikka.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
And it actually ties up to the last vehicle that we went through, which is the T-34-85. The very specific captured T-34 numbered 762.
Yeah, you know that one.
The
one the server is named after.
Yeah, the admin T-34 basically.
Yeah. Alright, let's go to Portinhoikka.
Yeah, go straight to the middle.
Okay, straight to the center of the crossroad where the flag is, which of course I assume will be replaced by a hanging flag. As I said, this map is a bit more WIP than, for example, Motovsky Bay, although of course we didn't see much of that one. But this stuff will be replaced still, and light maps also are not final, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
Alright.
So this tank wreck over here, this is actually the 762 that the number is taken from. This is the actual tank that was captured. Well, here we see that the track is blown off and it's like burned.
Yep.
But
in reality it was intact and the Finns captured it.
Absolutely. And there's a photograph where there's one of the Finnish tankmen is actually crawling out from the front hatch. There's the turret has been turned backwards. I don't know why, but it was. The Soviets apparently
maybe they wanted
backwards.
to tow it or something. Well, I know that I read a memoir once where the Germans drove their tanks through forests, and they had to turn around so that the gun wouldn't be damaged. So they turned around the gun, they plowed through all the trees, and then when they found Soviets, they would back up a bit, turn around the turret again, and then fire.
I think that might be the case in this situation as well. I think that might be the reason why it was turned backwards. But yeah, there is a photograph, and you can clearly see the 762 at the back of the turret in that photograph.
Okay, so basically that means that this tank is also the one from the Finnish main base, which also means that if on the server you drive the Finnish tank into this one, it will completely crash the server due to the two tanks touching themselves, you know, like fucking dark matter or something.
It will absolutely blow up the server box.
Yeah, everything will be destroyed. Alright, so that was our preview for the new Finnish map, Tali, which will also be in the next patch. So our plan right now is, well, originally our plan was to release a patch on December 6th. That will not be the case. I hope we can still get it out in December, but due to Christmas coming up, might be early next year instead. I think last time we did a stream that was February 2018, so almost 2 years ago, and then we released the patch like in June. I hope
in May.
In May, okay, yeah. So I hope it won't take that long again. Although the last time we did that, we got an extra map out of that, so who knows. But yeah, in this case, not planned. So there will be 2 new maps: Motovsky Bay, which we had a look at for a short while in the stream, and Tali here. So
my personal prediction right now is that we are probably, because Christmas is coming and all that, I'm thinking that late January sounds very good. I think that we might be able to push this thing out for late January.
Yeah, that would be nice and quite realistic. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. As always, thanks for watching and have a nice day.
See ya!